So, authenticity, right? And so, vibrating at a point of authenticity for me, it meant, first of all, it meant that I had to take out all that darkness. So, in the previous video, I spoke about how I was able to detach from the programming of the titles, specifically of like the ones of like your bloodline, your earthly bloodline, like mother, father, things like that, right? And so, in order for me to detach from that, I had to get honest and be in my truth. And the truth was that I was abused. The truth was that I was molested. The truth was that I was trafficked. The truth was that I was abandoned, neglected, treated less than, right? And that I was in pain and that I had a lot of hurt, and that although I'm not a perfect individual and I wasn't a perfect individual, I was a good person. My intentions were always pure, right? And I wanted the best for these people, but their intentions towards me were the opposite, specifically at the end of it all, when I was forced into an awakening because they were literally trying to unalive me for something that I didn't even know I had. Spiritual gifts, spiritual inheritance, physical inheritance, right? And so when I wasn't living in my truth, I was indulging in addictions in those lower realms, right? In my root chakra, in my sacral, in my solar plexus, where I was just lustful, having all types of activities, indulging in with all types of food, not taking care of my body, engaging in things such as gossiping, cheating, just, those lower realms, right? Which we could call hell, like that, right? And so when I wasn't living in my truth, that's what I was doing. And although there was a time that I seeked help and that I went, to therapy, and I went into programs like NA programs, and I did a lot of healing, and I got off certain drugs and stuff like that, I always had like a clutch, something that I would fall on. And it wasn't until I started living in my truth and spoke about it. One of the things I was guided to do was to start this channel, go and share my story. And I didn't understand why, but I was being obedient because one thing I did know was that I was being divinely guided. And so I started speaking my truth. I started telling my story, and I started to live in my truth. And one of the things that did for me was that held me accountable, right? And I also heard myself saying the things that I went through. And what that did for me was that it allowed me to develop empathy for myself, because once I would hear these videos and I would hear myself saying it, it would trigger something in me. And so as I began doing that, I had to get deeper into my healing. I had to start breaking these soul contracts. I had to start really grounding myself in the fact that I was here on a mission, that I was here with a purpose, that I am being divinely guided, and that this is what I needed to do in order to be able to ascend. Because one of the things that was a requirement, or that is a requirement, is that we heal and that we forgive it all and not pass judgment. So I had to forgive my abusers. I had to forgive the people that molested me. I had to forgive the family that abandoned me and that had not so good intentions towards me. I had to truly forgive them to a point of where it's like it's well within my soul. No resentment, no judgment. And I had to do that. And I did that by identifying the spirits that were operating through these people throughout my entire life and not lying to myself about what was going on, right? And so I share this because I understand that a lot of us collectively are going to be going through an awakening, or if not having an awakening right now. And so when we go through an awakening, we get stripped of everything that's material, that is solely important to like the earth, like everything that is important to us, like the titles, the karmic families, the karmic friends, the karmic co-workers, all of the material things. Most of the time we get stripped of that. And we have to dismantle literally our mind and reprogram our mind, because the programming that we had wasn't real. Because what we'll come to understand is that we're spiritual beings, and that we have soul contracts, and that we chose those family members, we chose those lovers, we chose those people that we have encountered so that we could have our soul evolve, and that we're here having an earthly experiences, and that the universe is all mental. And until we don't heal from within, what we get coming towards us is going to be a reflection of how we feel from deep within. So we could say all day long, I love myself, but if you're operating with a spirit of low self-worth, a spirit of lack, that's what you're going to get. And so it took me a while to figure that out. And I chose myself. I chose myself, and I chose to heal. And this is a process. It continues. Anything that triggers me is something that I need to look and heal. And so I'm grateful for that, because today I no longer run away from triggers. If something triggers me today, I look at it as, what is this trying to teach me? And then I do the work, I do the shadow work, I do the introspection, I go into hermit. That's another thing. When we're going through a spiritual awakening, God is going to put you in hermit mode. That means you're going to be alone for a while. And you're going to have to be okay with that. You're going to be forced into developing a personal relationship with the Most High God who resides inside of you. And in order to get there, you have to clear out all the catch from your mind. That means going back to your childhood and facing the things you did and that others did. And truly forgiving, not passing judgment, taking care of your vessel. Balancing the right and left side of your brain. Fasting. Meditating. Yeah, it's a process. And so I was guided to speak on this. I'll be back later.